I'm Clint, and welcome to Swatches Art Livestream 101. We have another MTG-themed challenge entries to look over, and we're joined once again by Anna. I will unmute Anna so she can say hi. There we go. All right. I am hearing myself. Is it patching my audio through yours? Okay, then we gotta figure this out before we continue. I don't know why I can hear myself. No, I can still hear myself. I can't do it where you can hear yourself with a half a second delay. That really messes with you. Yeah, so if you were watching this video, we're going to take a moment here to figure out what the technical problem is. I was having problems with Discord, which we normally use with the audio, but I had to switch over to Skype, and I guess it threw something off. Check. Can you hear me? Okay. Check. Okay, say something again if you would. Now you can't hear me. Interesting. I cannot figure out on...
I can hear you, and I think the stream also hears you.
Okay, I think that might be it now. Can you guys hear her now?
Oh, I think I hear myself in stream. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Good.
I guess I forgot that I was using a different input, audio input in OBS last time we used Skype. So I was unmuting the wrong one and muting the wrong one. Okay, I totally forgot that I used to use a different input on that. Okay, that should take care of it. And I'm gonna move that camera out just a little close. There we go. Alright, sorry about the technical delay there, but we should be up and going now. Very good. So, if you guys are having any problems with the audio visual from here on, let us know, but I'm going to assume that's pretty good to be going with. So, let's take a moment to go through some of the announcements, then we will get into looking at the artwork. I think we only have 6 images to look at this time, so it will be on the shorter side of the streams. We're going to start with, there will be a new challenge. Also, well, as I said, Anna is joining us again. If you want to refer to her by her proper title, she is the headmistress of hamsters. But we mainly reserve that to when we're talking on Discord. Next thing, new challenge. So, normally we would have had the challenge kick off last Saturday, but I was out of town. So things have got pushed a little bit time-wise. This is called Fantasy Races. Tickets will be on sale tomorrow. So let's go ahead and give an overview of what this challenge is. We're talking on Discord a little bit about it, and this is kind of a D&D style. Throughout the past, we've used a fictional game called Spiravel, which is D&D/Pathfinder inspired, and creating our own images, locations, characters, and species for that fictional game. And that's the way this art challenge is set up, that it mimics what a real art commission would be like. And these are the outline and supporting files. So we'll go and take a look at all 3 of these. Okay, let's start with the outline. And I'll read this over, and then we'll take a look at the supporting files. So this one will start off tomorrow. The tickets will go on sale tomorrow for it. You will have 2 weeks to create a concept. Send that in. We'll do a live review. 2 more weeks after that, and you'll have to submit your final. Then we do a review of that. The goal is to create 2 illustrations, 2 character illustrations that represent the different races/species for the game. These have no background, so choose 2 of the 3 fantasy races, the Arbalon, the Nura, or the Zez. For this challenge, you will illustrate 2 characters to represent their different race or species. All characters are to be pictured over a solid grayscale background, like gray, white, black, that sort of thing, and in a standing position. This challenge continues the world building of the fictional D&D style game Spiravel, which has been the subject of several other previous challenges. You can go back in the live stream list and look at some of the other ones if you want. Remember, these characters need to be a good representation of the entire race, not just a unique standalone character. So the Arbalon are halfling-sized race that is primarily based on a squirrel physicality, but are more humanoid in proportions. Their appearance may drift to resemble other of the rodentia, such as, mice, rats, that sort of thing. But they always have the bushy tails that you would be known for squirrels. They are a playable and civilized race, contemporaries of the dwarves and humans. They are blessed with keen senses and natural agility. The Arbalons are a nature-loving race. Arbalons, which I misspelled right there, wear full clothing, usually in nature tones. Grays, browns, greens, yellows, kind of oranges. But they also wear minimal armor. Depict an Arbalon from the classes of Adventurer, Fighter, Paladin, Cleric, or Druid. The Nora stand in a 5-foot stature. The Nora are humanoid with more rotund bodies, larger heads, and wide, friendly smiles. Think in the lines of goblins without the big noses and pointy ears, or gnomes with larger heads and less hair. They are also a playable civilized race. Their skin tone ranges from pale blue and grays to soft violet and reds. The Nora have no facial hair. But what they lack in physical power, they make up for in sharp minds and naturally good fortune. They are just lucky. The Nora like to dress well, live well, and are immune to many poisons and psychic magics. Depict a male Nora of the classes of merchant, diplomat, alchemist, astrologer, or advisor. Last is the Zez, a sentient but unplayable race. They stand 5 to 10 feet. They are to fungi what Ints are to trees. That is to say, they are made of fungi, but take a roughly humanoid form. They are not capable They were not considered one of the civilized races as they have no society or government. They're more elemental in nature, but they were capable of simple speech and concepts. Their bodies are a collection of large and small fungi and tuber forms of varying colors. Small and tall and lanky, others are squat and mushroom-like. Okay, well, that's the first time you've heard that, Anna. Anything stand out to you from that? Any comments you would like to point out to the viewers?
These are really great, very different ideas. How long did it take you to come up with these, Cliff?
The basic idea, not very long, but I did spend a while just writing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really interesting. I really start to want playing these races. They sound super interesting. I like especially like the Zaz, just because I'm really huge fan of Ents, and
Yeah.
I already have like, I don't know, 3 to 4 different ideas in my head what you could go for with these. So yeah, if you like painting, nature, or want to develop some skills in that, this would be awesome. But also, if you're more into more humanoid stuff, the Anura is a great possibility for you. The Arborean also have the like what many people in the Swatches group trained now for. They're all capable of drawing hamsters. You can go now and add to that, to this Arborean race. Really cool. Something cute, something like funny, something like more epic. You can really choose. I like these. Yeah, I like the variety you brought in here.
Yeah, I was trying to play to a couple of different directions, and we will likely continue this subject with another set of races for the next challenge, but they will probably be, I want to say, like the darker, like the evil races, not goblins, but something else, in that direction. So it'd be the non-playable like evil race. Let's take a look at some of the reference images, inspiration images. And there are different things about each of these that I want you to pay attention to. So hopefully you watch the video here where I explain a little bit, because I didn't write everything out. This squirrel is one that I illustrated last year, but along that lines, I had a really good time illustrating him, and I thought other people might as well. He has perhaps going in the right direction, maybe not as not quite as humanoid. He's probably almost a little too squirrel. I think the middle guy probably has a better balance of like the humanoid aspects and proportions. And if you wanted to go that direction as well, the only difference here would be that he would probably need the fluffy tail, but the rest of it is actually really close. And the way that he's done the rest of the scene is also a good example in that it is just the blank background, but he has a couple of small props. Yeah, I say too squirrel because it's like his anatomy is still very squirrel-like. And his overall attire wasn't made to be like realistic. I mean, he should probably have a more fleshed out overall character than that, what we're using it for. This other one's also pretty close. Some sort of fighter character like that. Adventurer character, again, with the bushy tail, though. The Anura, the closest thing that I could think of with the Anura are the workers there in the bathhouse from the movie Spirited Away. So I put them in there. Although our Anura are needing to have a different skin tone. They don't have any facial hair. And you could pull in maybe a little of slightly of the kind of goblin-y aspects. I could see some inspiration being from the Harry Potter goblin sort of designs as well. And this, I don't know, some sort of sculpture I came across a while back, but there's a little aspect in there as well. So if you wanted to take it in a slightly toad-like direction, that could probably work again. And then this image down here is the main one that really inspired the idea of the Zez. And you can just see the wide variety of different kinds of mushrooms and colors and shapes going on there. I think that his face here is probably too humanoid because it's very much a human face. So I'm thinking that ours should probably have more of the fauna and just suggested face, not anything quite as clear as that. This would also be acceptable. This is a really excellent MTG piece of a little fungus coral guy. I don't know. Any comments here on those?
Yeah, I think you get a really good direction for these. Could you make them there, for the fungus ones? They are having a lot of very humanoid forms. The ants don't have like skin and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Would people also be allowed to go even further into that fungus type of
Yes.
flesh?
Yeah, if they have very little like humanoid skin, that's fine. If it was me, I would be pushing more towards what we have there on the top, which is almost like a radish or something of that kind. Like its body takes on more of that tuber, what we would call that a potato and a radish. Those are all tuber vegetables. So if you want to use those sort of shapes for the big body, then you kind of branch off of there into your more mushroom-like or fungi shapes. That would be a good combination. And so look at the patterning and the overall forms going on with those sorts of vegetables.
Yeah, pretty cool. Are these all references from the fungi that you drew, or where are they from? Because I've
Oh,
never seen them. These
the
ones.
top one is from Magic the Gathering. The
Yeah.
bottom one was for another game whose title I don't remember. I wasn't familiar with that game.
Okay.
But
Cool.
of course, you will be given these as well if you
Mm-hmm.
pick up the tickets. And the last one is just the style and execution images. So this is what I'm talking about: just characters over white background or a solid background like this down here. Anything like the Pathfinder style or D&D style is fine. Pathfinder is usually a little more line based, a little more of the classic style. Over here, Evan Amundson's style would fit well. And you should also look at his artwork as just general reference for ideas. He does a lot of the like halfling characters. This is a more stylized and shape-centric rendering. It's also acceptable if it's more closely, follows what your artistic style is. I know we have a variety of people that are really good with that kind of simpler shape-based style. Or if you wanted to go for a more dramatic, lit character over a solid background that's darker, you could go for something like one of these as well. So I just wanted to give people kind of an idea of how that works and consider what kind of thing that they could be doing. Like for all of these, they're standing, but they're all gesturing or doing something. She's holding double blades out, both feet together. This one, she's holding that big war hammer out in front of her, got a little breeze. This one's walking. So they're all doing some sort of gesture and not just standing there with their arms straight down. So we want to look for something like that.
Yeah, I think it's cool that you give us the freedom to choose in between styles and setups. That's pretty nice. So people will be more motivated that have a different style from what is usually us. So nice. Pretty cool.
Okay, well, if you guys have questions about this challenge and you're joining live in the chat, feel free to put it in. And also, thank you to everybody making the time to come join the live stream live. And of course, if you have a comment towards me or Anna, just put it in the chat and we will try to address that during the stream. America is crazy. Okay, that sounds about right. Australia hates mammals. Do they? You do realize that humans are mammals, right? Okay, so let's jump into the images. We'll go alphabetically again, starting with Alexi. Now, I didn't even ask. I assumed you had time and you took a look at these images before as well?
Yeah, I looked at them, and as usually, I took some little notes, and yeah, I always try to be as short as possible and leave the main part to you. Yep.
Australia is home to crazy ass creatures. Dude, yeah, there are so many things that can kill you in Australia. It's crazy. Like, there's a lot of that country that you don't want to live in. I was reading about it was a video I was watching about the most poisonous plants on Earth, and there was a number of them that make their home in Australia.
Yeah, it's really, really misery how people can still live there.
So, something like 90% of the population lives within, what was it,
Yeah,
15 or 20 miles of
yeah.
the perimeter. Not only
And the
anybody
rest is
lives in the
spiders and
middle.
kangaroos.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your comments, and we'll jump into some of the things that I was noticing.
Okay. We're starting with Alexei, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you want to read out the text this time, or are we skipping it? That the
Uh,
comment section.
Most of it's there's no direct questions, so I won't read it all.
Okay, good. So Alexei, I really liked how clean you worked with the edges and the colors and how you mix them. Like very tricky, for example, is the blue light on the golden helmet, and I think you did this quite well with this greenish tone. This is kind of tricky to pull off, and I think you chose, especially on the helmet, a good color for the light reflection on there. You are challenging yourself to do a very dynamic painting. What we can tell from the foreshortening of the arm and the chains coming towards us. And yeah, I think this was a very good training for you. And I hope you learned a lot from this piece. Some things that I jotted down to point out. So the first thing that is something that happened to some of the paintings, not yours only, is that I feel that the chains are so super prominent and that they're kind of feeling like they're not part of the painting, but like put on top of it. I don't know how to
Hmm.
explain that, but
Yeah.
they're so foreign, so alien to that painting that they stand out a lot, and we get not enough information when I have it like smaller. And it's basically just the chains. That's all I see. Of course, it's the main theme for this card. It's astral binding, and it's a very important focal point. But I'd like to see it a little bit more worked into the painting by having it interact more with especially the colors and
Mm-hmm.
the values. They're like from left to right, from top to down, they're all in the same blue, all in the same value.
Yeah, that's the same thing I was seeing. They're almost a solid tone, which really kind of
Yeah,
takes out any dimensionality to them.
yeah. And there's no transparency or anything, so they're
Mm-hmm.
really feeling like you sometimes, when you paint, you make a little mask for stuff what you paint, and then you paint on top of that mask. And to me, it looks a little bit like a mask like that, that you have everything on one layer, and then you're about to add the whatever you want to have, like some shadows or color changes or stuff like that. So this is the feeling I just get with the chains, and that's kind of the tricky thing. Um, The second thing was for me the silhouette in general. If I are zoomed in, it's okay. I can see he's having the arm towards us and he's kind of jumping sidewards and all that. But when I go a little bit away from the screen or look at the smaller versions of this painting, I don't read well the pose of
Yeah.
the figure. There's so much layering of arms and legs and body and shield, and it that there need to be more negative space within your figure's
Mm-hmm.
silhouette. Yeah, so good training, do some negative space trainings that can help you quite a lot with that. Um, a third thing that I wrote down is the values, which are again kind of similar between all the parts of the painting. So the background is not as dark as the character, but still very close. I think we can push this further. In general, the background has no foreign midground or like floor. We don't see much of the floor. We don't see much of the surroundings except for these shapes in the background, which gives it a very graphic look. Maybe it is wanted, but I'd prefer to have maybe look at the reference. There are some stones and rocks maybe that are like from on the left and right. You could add a little bit of depth to the painting by
Mm-hmm.
adding more elements that show us the surroundings of the character. Yeah. And one last little thing. Um, this is a question also to you. I would not go personally for a situation where the character is holding out his hand and looking straight towards us. I've it depends a bit on the card, probably. So it looks like I'm doing these chains and yeah, pulling him down. Maybe this is wanted. Maybe this is awkward. To me, it felt a little bit like, oh, he's looking so directly at me. So maybe this is wanted, but he's like pulled sideways, but looking at us. And there are two movements. The movement between us, the viewer, towards him, and the sideway. Um, and these are not so harmonizing much. Like with the reference, where we have this guy directly running towards us and looking at us, with the shield up, these soldier there, Roman soldier, he's coming directly at us. There's just one direction of the painting. He's not jumping sideways. He's
Mm-hmm.
coming at us and looking at us. And I feel like in this painting, this is a bit mixed up. So I'd personally prefer to have him also look sideways or a little bit more three-quarter view. Yeah, not towards us, but maybe left from us or something. But this might be something personal. All in all, I
No,
think,
I don't think it is just a personal choice. I think that really does come back to just a more informative pose, just posing to the character. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, that's all from me. Um,
Yeah, so this was a overall pretty big change from the original sketch. I went ahead and copied that over here. I'll pull up on that if we want to see where it came from. I remember what we talked about last time, and one of the things that we put up was the silhouette of the character, and that all of the shield and the arms and the legs were overlapping, and this arm wasn't as clear. And I had said, what if we moved this arm out and moved this arm up, and we separated the legs so that one was back here, and that way the silhouette read, and you wouldn't even have to have any detail. You could actually just tell from the silhouette what the character was doing. So you move from that to what I feel like is a different pose with the same problem. Because if I put in a silhouette over this character, which I put in earlier, if I were to just see that shape, no idea. I would not be able to tell you what was going on. I would not be able to register what the character was doing. And like you were saying, Anna, we need to be able to have that negative space. Negative space is all of the space around an object. In this case, the positive shape is the character. And the negative space is everything around the character. The negative space is what would help this character to stand out. And you can be able to read it because the separations in between the limbs on the character would let you understand what that pose is. So that's definitely something we've got to be paying attention to, so that things are separated in a way that even if you saw them in silhouette, you would may be able to pull out what was happening. Even on these other ones, like if you silhouetted this guy running, you could still make out what he was doing. You could probably make out most of what was going on with this guy throwing over there. So that would be part of it. And yeah, now we have the character looking straight at us, which can be doable. And I've done a number of images that way, and I've had multiple images requested to be that way. But you usually only want to do that if there's a real reason for it. Otherwise, you probably want to have more turn to the body. Like the angled view that you had in the original pose, I thought was better for that regard, that he was at that nice 3/4 angle. Yeah, I agree with you, Anna, on the chains. They're basically one tone. I assume some more work could be done to those to make them feel more rounded, and also let their light affect a little more in the scene. And for myself, if I am introducing something into the scene that is in itself a light source, in this case the chains are, then I am prone to say, why not just let them be the light source? Do I really need this other side light if I've already got the light from the chains? So I would be curious about changing that and really taking down the brightness of that other light so that the chain light could be a greater source there. So the silhouette design, yeah, and rendering of those. The next, of course, is the background does need attention. Right now, it feels like it's been blocked in. It's the idea of what's going on. But we need to go look at some other MTG artwork, see how they handle the background, and it needs to be something that is properly developed so that there is planes in between us and that background. We probably need to have them darker. There's not many cases where you'd get away with them being lighter than the background. So that could be very time intensive depending on how you render the scene. Is if you're going to have to go render all those people. Again, look to see how some other artists have handled wide conflict battles in the background and how you can get away with it without having to render every single detail on that many people. And yeah, overall the values, yeah, I think it's just with a lot of the really high contrast in some areas, and then the lighting just really isn't applied to the background. That's something that has to be developed. Something else that caught me a little bit is the motion. That the character seems very obviously moving to the left. But what we see is the whip of the hair off the helmet going the opposite direction. Well, that sort of thing is always going to trail behind you. So it really needs to be going this way. And we see that was accounted more correctly with the little skirt bits. But we also have the opposite thing going on with his goatee. So that also needs to go the other way. Because the body is pulling it and it's going to trail behind the body. So we're going to have more of that sort of thing going on. Let's see. I do think that overall values were better because that just feels like a drawing. It didn't have any distinct light, and you kind of went to the other direction. And overall in the background, I would just tone all of the background down so that you have a lot more contrast, a lot more color there in the foreground. And the background, just let there be a lot of dust so that you do have a silhouette of the army closer to what you have over here, but all of it's just a little darker. None of it's quite as rich in color. And just let it drop down a little bit in both vibrancy and in value. Any concluding thoughts, Anna? Or comment off anything that I said?
I think I don't want the Alexei to be like demotivated. I think you really did a good painting, and if you compare it to the sketch phase, there a lot did happen. There is a lot of 3D thinking with also the very nice shadows and so on. So really don't take just the negative or the critique out of this. There's a good you have as a base to start with. Just see it as a chance to develop even further and implement what Clint just said, and yeah, try to learn something out of these critiques. This is what we are here for, and yeah, I think this will be a wonderful painting once you implemented some of these hints by Clint. Just don't get demotivated if it's a lot of work or seems as a lot of work.
Yeah, I think it is easy to get demotivated, especially when you're getting feedback, and it can be helpful to have the right mindset going into it. If you go into it with the idea that this is going to be the next great thing that I create, this is going to be a masterpiece, this needs to succeed, instead of I'm going into this in order for this to help me improve. This is about me learning. Then you succeed when you learn something new through the process, not necessarily what you get out of the other end. This isn't about creating a finished piece for your gallery. It's about improving. So hopefully that's the mindset that you keep, in which case I think that you're doing exactly what Anna said. You're really challenging yourself, and you're pushing a lot in ways that you're not used to, and that's where you learn. Yeah, I did change the axe here because the axe is in the foreground. We're getting a lot of foreshortening. And so the hand is this much bigger than the head because it's this much closer. I assume the axe is about the same distance, in which case the amount of increase of size that we have from the head to the hand, we also need to have from the hand to the axe. So the axe needs to be significantly bigger in order to continue that perspectivized change. Okay, we'll wrap it up on that. Alexi, please continue with the work. Try to address some of the things that we pointed out. Put the image back up on the Discord, and we'd love to see that after you do some more work on it. Okay, J. Kevin is up next. He's got another Minotaur. So the glow effect on the chains really threw me off, and I ended up much brighter than the reference. I also had a hard time making the chains. I could not find a tutorial to demo on the subject. How would you recommend tackling this problem in the future? I would go get a chain brush that had size sensitivity to my pressure, and then draw the chains in, and then just let those be a guide for kind of where the links go and everything. And then I would go back and redraw them adjusting them for places where they need to angle, around things. And then any modification to the shape of them as well. So that's how I would do it. I was just comments help. It is very valuable. Much appreciated. Okay. I think this one progressed very well. It's got a good rendering to it. Everything is very clear. I find it just a little on the desaturated side, so I was thinking about pushing up maybe the saturation, the color a little bit. What was your thoughts on this, Anna?
Yeah, so it goes without saying that this one already is drawn by a more or already advanced artist. It has a very solid base of composition, of forms, of shape language, shading, thinking in 3D, dynamics. It's all there. Just some nitpicky things or things I try to play around with, because my one impression is there is so much with the mimic and gesture, but still I feel like it could need more power, a little bit more wow effect, And I think this goes a lot, like for example with League of Legends pieces, with post-production stuff, like adding, for example, a stronger rim light, for example, could work.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
So because you went for an ambient light for the main character that is just or mainly lit by chains, and probably chains that are in the surroundings, because otherwise he wouldn't be that bright. And a strong backlight. So the chance we have here is to pimp up this rim light on him. You could have gone also for a very sharp, hard-edged light source, maybe directly on his head or something. We didn't go for that. That is why I'm pointing out the rim light at this point. Maybe you could already get to the stage, because everything looks a little bit still rendered very similarly, and I think you can really get more into texture studies for yourself, like making the horns looking more like it's really horn, like it has a little bit different kind of reflectivity, and some parts are a little bit more matte and some parts are a little bit more shiny in horn. And I think you could play around with that a little bit more. Also with the metal ring, it could have a stronger highlight. The teeth could have different highlights, just that we get a different sense for all these materials that we have there. What you see a lot in Riot art is how much they work with atmosphere, with dust, with what's it called, like little I brought it down, so particles in that are flowing around and reflecting light, and it is super clean. And he's like, is it called stomping down with his leg on the ground? So there could be dust coming up, like in your reference. He also did that, and there's still dust coming up a little bit from the ground, and just to add to this energy of the painting, I feel like you are on the right track, but I still need that last 10% of energy in that painting. The eyes could maybe glow, or sometimes they have this, like it looks like when the eyes have such a kind of glowy smoke coming out of them, maybe something like that. This is just ideas now, but just to give this a little bit more of impact to me, because I look now at this painting, I think, wow, this is a solid, well-drawn, well-rendered piece, and this person knows what he's doing. But emotionally, I still need a little bit more, just to be in that painting, be like, whoa, I want to keep staring at that dude for the next 10 minutes. and look at this
Well,
painting
yeah, look
in
at those
every,
muscles, man.
yeah, stuff like that, you know. And I think these are these last little, maybe 10%, maybe less, that could bring it to that point. These were my personal impressions. A bit more energy. Yep.
So I think like even just implementing those really, really quickly gets closer to that. And I like that suggestion as well. Punching up that back rim light some. That's nice. We also need to continue that down here. Just whatever's being hit by that light is pretty much blown out value-wise. Get some of that coming over. Maybe we get a little of the backlit coming through the ear or something. There.
Oh, also, I see it a lot in Riot paintings that they have some parts, like the weapon or some feet or so, have this motion blur. Maybe we could play with that too. But I don't know. I think there is a filter, like with blur, and then you have like motion blur, but I don't know how to set it up. I never tried it myself. Just an idea that just popped up. So,
Did you just suggest a Photoshop filter as the solution?
no, for example, the feet or the leg, where you have this little motion blur effect. I think you can see it like maybe in the Poppy painting of Riot. I think the weapon or some when they have like very strong for shortening, then one part is usually a bit more motion blurred than the
Yeah.
others, which adds, again, this is what I mean, you know?
I think he has something going on in kind of blurring around the ground. But yeah, we could get perhaps a little more of that. I'm almost thinking of like the. In comic books, they do that. They give that kind of blurry lines along the edges to indicate kind of a vibration of energy, of force. And it's almost doing the same sort of thing here, all radiating out from the background area. Okay, so that's definitely some good ideas. I think all of those are worth implementing, Kevin. And some other things. I just grabbed it earlier, did a couple of things to it. This was just grabbing it and tweaking the darks up because, actually, I'll just do that. I'll show you in case people are curious. Pulling up the levels. We can see with the levels that there is hardly anything within the actual black to 90% black range. And I just want to move that up a little bit so that our blacks get our darkest stuff in the image actually gets closer to black. And that's going to give an overall better pop to it. So that's what I did there. Then increased the vibrancy, not just barely saturation, but mainly the vibrancy of the colors. So that's a pretty good difference there. And it gets you a lot closer to your references for the lighting reference. Next up is a color layer at 60%. And I just wanted to add some more color variants. A lot of this, the ground and him and his clothes and all the stuff on him, about the same sort of grayish brown tones. And I want to add some variants to that. So the nose being made a little cooler, the area around the eye, letting that be a little cooler as well, tinting the horns slightly to the cool side as well. Letting the skirt thing go to the red side, so it's not just the same tones as the rest of the fur. So this is one of those little things, but it can help just keep things from feeling so monotonous. Next is a vivid light. This is where we really get to punch up the color around those chains and get a really nice blue glow from the chains. This would then justify you being able to use more blue light in some of the rims and bounce and stuff around the character. Because right now, they're light, but they don't feel like they're they're very vibrant. So that would help. And then implementing that same light that we had on there earlier that we just added, and that little blur effect. So we grab these, throw these on here, and kind of just a before and after. That's some quick changes, and I think that really steps the piece up overall. Adding some of that debris particles that you were talking about, Anna. Adding some sparks around where the chains are coming off of the wall. Adding more of that strong backlight to it, and there you go. Lovely piece. This is definitely one of those where 90% of the work, 95% of the work is already done. We're just pushing that last little bit to get everything we can out of it.
Yeah. This is just what we are talking about in the chat right now, these last 10%. And he asked how to get these last 10, how to learn how to do them. And the answer that has been given in chat by now is get mentorships, get feedback, like this one now, what you just did. You just showed us now in like 5 minutes how the last 10%, what they can look like.
Yeah.
And they make so much. Give so much influence to the whole painting. And it just, like you read my mind where I want to go with this piece. This is exactly what I expected to have as an overpaint after we are finished. Also the colors. This added so much, and it's amazing. I think like a little bit more rendered out, because this is a quick paint over. This is right worthy to me, to be honest. Some okay, they're super clean, but cleaning up some edges, and a piece like this is to me right worthy. I'd play that champion. It's cool. So.
Oh yeah, this ends up being quite a professional, usable image.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's cool.
So yeah, lovely work. And yeah, the consults and mentorships, that's exactly one of the things that they're good at. You do most of that work. You're just having a hard time finding what that extra polish is to push it over the top. And we just sat down and talk about it. That's what I was doing with another fellow's work earlier this week. Is he's been doing some professional work, but he's not quite there. Like, it's good, and a lot of people are getting that stage where you've got the fundamentals down. That's not the problem. It's now that you've got the fundamentals down, how do you combine them all in a way that it ends up kind of being more than the sum of its parts? Now you're finessing with it. And that can be it can be problematic, because it's no longer, is my perspective correct? Yeah, it's correct. Sometimes to make things better, you actually have to start playing around with the rules. It's exaggerating the perspective. It's exaggerating the foreshortening. It's exaggerating the colors. That's where you get that extra bit. It's stepping beyond the realism, where you can get extra impact. Okay, Jonathan is up next.
Mm-hmm.
You have Jonathan's?
Yep.
Okay. He says he does not consider it finished. So I think that's one of the main things to keep in mind here.
No, I have Julian, not Jonathan. Julian, Melanie, Toby. These are the ones I have here. Wait. Maybe I have to refresh.
Yeah, I think it got in.
Yes. No, I had a look at it. All good. That was my old tab. Okay, all good. Yes, I see.
It says, as for the next steps, I'm aware the Minotaur's face is so calm, and his muscles so free of any tension, that he looks like he came to the desert to finally meditate in peace. To remedy that, I will do sculpting work on him. Then I will model some elements of armor and clothing, and redesign the chain elements. It's just boring ovals right now. And when we'll be done, I will finally go to the overpaint phase. And then hopefully, I will call it finished. Thank you for this art challenge. It was and still is great work on MTG style brief, and I'm hoping for more like this in the future.
There will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's definitely different in that he's working from the 3D base a lot more than the other entries. And we saw that on the previous one as well, but he's brought in textures, he brought in lighting, and some tweaks to the anatomy, I think. Don't completely remember. But this is where we are now. And I think for this one, he's talking about taking it back. It says, he's going to take it back to the model and add in the clothing and stuff and then do the repaint. I'm going to say don't go back to the model right now. Right now, enough of it has been directed by the 3D model. Right now, we need to go back to drawing. Because you're getting too hammed in, you're getting too cornered in, and letting the model actually dictate the direction of the image. The model should serve to aid in accuracy, not in dictating direction. So we need you to draw what the scene needs to look like, and then go create the model to answer the questions that brings up. Don't create the model and then try to draw to fit it. That you're going backwards with that. That's the way that I see it. Do you see it going a different way?
The thing is, it is a super complicated thing for me to answer because I know that there are some 3D artists on ArtStation that do crazy stuff with 3D and then do a little bit of overpaint just to make it look like a painting and then post it. There is this kind of approach to work with. So you, the name was Jonathan, must decide for yourself where you want to go with your art and what you want to be kind of an artist. If you are heading for something like an MTG artist, this is not the approach that me and probably Clint will tell you to go with. Why is that? You must ask yourself, why are you going with a 3D version first? Is it because you don't know anatomy? Is it because you don't know how forms and shapes and whatever look in 3D? Shapes are not in 3D, I'm just talking nonsense. Forms in 3D. Don't you know what light works like on a character? Don't you know how a piece of shoulder armor is folding over the shoulder and looking, how it is looking in perspective? If that is the problem, why you use a 3D model, it would be more beneficial for you to do the fundamental studies and go from there and use these challenges to show whatever you can do. And if you start with stick figure level, then you start with stick figure level and show what you can do. And Clint will tell you, okay, your next step will be this and that. We don't go in this challenge just for pretty pictures. We go for a challenge because we want to learn with it. And be brave enough to try things on your own if you are going for that MTG direction or in general 2D Illustrator. As I said, there is the 3D progress, but it is a completely different kind of art. These people are doing 3D models for games. And just to show them on ArtStation, they do a little bit of overpainting. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, that really is a good point. And I think we have to make the comment here that if we don't have anything against 3D as, people that are 3D artists. I have the utmost respect for them and their skills because I can't do that. Um, but if you do want to go that way, Jonathan, if that's what really interests you and that's the skills that you want, I'm going to say go for it. But I also want to say I may not be the best guy. And even Anna may not be, we may not be the best to give you the feedback that you need to improve. Because that's not necessarily our skill set. You may want to look around to see if there's any 3D modeling challenges or mentorships or classes, more in that direction. And I'd say 100% go for it. But this one was geared around being an MTG style. And for that kind of artwork, it's far more 2D illustrative. So like last week, one of the things that I had talked about was going back and drawing over this. So I did some line work over it and said, we can adjust the body by, changing the muscles here and doing the expression like this, and we can adjust it like that. And I'd said, now is the time that we need to go ahead and start drawing this and changing it. And it looks like you didn't listen to that at all. I don't see any drawing over this. And I see that you just went back to the 3D and continued on with it without any regard to the feedback. And if you want to do that, I mean, that's up to you. You don't have to agree with the feedback that I give, but and that's totally acceptable for this. I feel like maybe you're not getting your money's worth if you don't. But it will become an issue if you do start working professionally, and if the art director does give you some feedback about, why don't we do this or that? At that point, it's not really ignorable. You kind of just have to do that. So do keep that in mind as you move forwards. Yeah. I don't want to be mean about that, but I do want to make it clear, like, the feedback that I'm giving is something that I'm trying to put your artistic growth the highest priority there.
The thing is, by telling Jonathan to go for the fundamentals is not only for 2D. He needs this also for the 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when you go for 3D modeling, you still will have to go and study shapes, shape language.
Yep.
You have to go and study forms, anatomy, perspective. You need to know what you are doing in your 3D program. And so you don't lose any time just going now there and studying this, drawing some stuff. Use the art club if you want to on Discord. It goes through these things right from the beginning. We are in the middle of doing that. Join us on the gesture studies. Do just something with the fundamentals first. And I promise you, if you use this, what you have now, and just simply overpaint it, like with lines, for example, you will see things that aren't there, and you won't see things that are there and misinterpret things or it will look awkward. This is what I experienced on myself. I did this too with overpainting and trying to get the right pose out of a photo or something. But if you don't know what's happening in there, your brain will probably not be able to make a good 2D sketch out of it. This is just my experience with it.
Yeah, I want to read Dan's comment here because he actually uses this workflow quite a lot in his. He says, someone who likes to use a lot of 3D in my illustration, my advice is to jumping back and forth often. The more often, the better. When you hit a problem in one, use the other method. And that's what we're talking about. One informs the other one. And some things are faster to implement by drawing, and some things are faster to do by 3D. Sketch, make a 3D, sketch over 3D, adjust a 3D to match a sketch. And that's what we're talking about. Again, where there's a balance between the two helping each other. And at this point, I don't see any of the sketch offsetting the 3D. So we just need to run it back to the sketch. Because I'm looking over here at these, and you've got these great reference images here. This is Rudy something. I can't only make out that last name. And did they use a 3D for this? I have no idea. But I can tell you that they definitely drew it, and he knew exactly the kind of foreshortening, and there's a shape language involved in this. And there's exaggerations going on with this that, oh, dude, man, I like those horns. Check those horns out. That's what you're kind of talking about, the different textures and how it's different than the nose. The nose is different than the fur. That's really nice. And so you've got to start thinking about it, not just what's accurate in the 3D, but what just looks good shape-wise and pose-wise from this particular angle. And that's something that is probably easier to do through drawing.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when you do with 3D, you can, of course, like Dan just said, he got his fundamentals down, just saying that. He is one of the most advanced artists we have in the Swatches Discord channel right now. So he knows the process and he knows what he's doing, just saying that. This is why we recommend for beginners not to rely too much or too long on a 3D model, because you easily become their slave and just follow whatever is in there. The more proficient you get with art, the more advanced you get, the more you can control that and say, okay, I'll just take out that specific information from that 3D model that I need for my piece and ignore the rest. And this is a skill that you develop with time, and especially while studying fundamentals. And that is the reason why we say don't use, or really just for very specific general things, use a 3D model as a beginner. Don't do it too much. And if you have maybe the possibility to make a reference of your own, instead it's, I think, better to go for now as a beginner for photos and your own body or things like that. 3D is tricky and it can lead you the wrong way very easily if you don't know what you're doing. That's my personal experience.
It's a tool. And what I would do here, I mean, if it was me and I was saying, what is the next steps? What I would suggest is you get this scene, kind of like what you have here. Just do a drawing of this and do value studies of this scene. Right now, the 3D program is just coming up with the values depending on where you throw the light. Forget that for now. Just hand draw your value studies based on the arrangement that you have. That way that you can light it in an artistic and controlled way that maybe is not 100% accurate to what the program would want to do. Because you're doing it in a more intentional way than the program would. It's going to just blanket the area with the light. Same thing with the color scheme. You've changed the colors of the chains, but after you do your value scheme, then you want to do a color scheme. This is where you're going to experiment. Are you going to use an analogous color scheme? Are you going to use complementary? Or are you going to use a discordant color? And these don't have to be long studies. You can do these fairly quickly, but have your color swatches next to it. Have some examples of the kinds of color schemes of other images that you want to try to copy, and just do them by hand. And instead of having to relight and recolor everything on your 3D program.
Yeah, and then just said in chat that 3D fundamentals can be learned in 3D, like anatomy and so on, can be easily learned, or more easily maybe for some people, learned in 3D. Yes, if you use it like with really for studying the matter, But if you just say, okay, I'll get a figurine, a pre-made figurine, and just copy it or trace over it, but
Hmm.
not understanding what muscle I'm copying there, why it is looking the way it is, then it's probably not going to be accurate in the ending, and I didn't learn anything.
Hmm.
So make 3D your tool, yes, of course, but don't rely on it for everything. This is what I meant.
You know what I should do? I should actually learn how to use 3D so that I could talk about it with some sort of
I mean, there's
know
a
what I'm
difference
talking about.
between using pre-made figurines and like sculpting, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there
that's
there are
true.
differences, of course. Yeah. I think chat and people who are watching this video get where we are
Yeah.
heading at. I think you understand what we mean. Yeah. 3D is not the evil.
No,
Just be
no, not at
cautious
all.
as a beginner.
Not at all,
So,
but I think it's a good point that, and same thing with techniques and media, that none of them are shortcuts. You always come back to having to understand the fundamentals. If you don't know how to control lighting and the values, it doesn't matter whether it's 2D or 3D, it's still going to have bad lighting and bad values. If you don't know composition, again, it doesn't matter if it's 2D or 3D, things aren't going to be composed well in the scene. So fundamentals remain largely the same, and there is no media whether paints or pencils or digital or 2D or 3D that will just magically solve that because that's the one that you're using. Although 3D is a little better with it working out like perspective, right? Because it is
yeah.
using actual forms. Okay, we've moved on to Julian.
Mm-hmm.
And says, I've been working on this one a lot. I can tell. I can tell a lot of times and put into this. It's a wonderfully polished image. Probably can't see my own mistakes at this point. Most of us are that way. Fairly happy with it. You ought to be fairly happy with it. I'm fairly happy with it. Actually, I'm more than fairly happy with it. I'm quite pleased with it. Hope I have worked out some of the issues he mentioned last time. Yes, Julian, this is a really good finish for this image. It's progressed really well. If you missed it last time, the image was this one up here, basically just a larger version of that. And we had talked about putting the bookcase and back wall into shadow and shifting that cooler so that the characters stood out. And also adjusting the pose so that they were in a more defensive position instead of just kind of an odd, startled position. And I think you addressed all of those very well.
Yeah.
I do have some little paint over tweaks that I've already done, but why don't you go ahead and mention your thoughts on it?
Yeah. So I really like how clean it is. I like the pages especially. Like they're really having
Mm-hmm.
character and looking like little mouths that are trying to attack him. And I really like that. And also the face and the facial expression. Wow, you did so
Yes.
well with that. And all the details and the pages, you're zoomed in now so people can see it. Even they have text on it,
Yes.
and it is amazingly amount of detail. The hair, the beard, like everything, every wrinkle, so much work. So we can tell how much you put into that painting. I have some little things. The first thing that came to my mind is that the arms look a little bit wobbly to me. It might be the drapery that is giving me the impression of the arms being more a little bit gum-like. There's where the joints are. I feel like there is something off. Also, the shoulder is a little bit low. His left shoulder, for us the right one, is a little bit low. The connection to the neck. This is my personal impression. It might be the drapery. Maybe you drew the arm anatomically correct underneath it. Yeah, but it looks a little bit bent and wobbly. Maybe we can tweak this and that there. Another thing is the drapery in general. So I feel like it is a little bit generic. Maybe get some reference for the what is a long jacket called? It's Mantel in German. Mantel, probably wrong. Um,
What, his style of jacket?
yeah, this long kind of jacket that goes like up to the knees, down to the knees. Like the lower part of it has maybe get some reference from some code. Thank you. uh, um, maybe some reference. Also the yeah, how the folds are there are a little bit generic, and yeah. The main thing I consider is zooming a little bit in on just the character, not the rest. I feel like before, in the sketch before, we had a little bit better use of space. I just felt like everything is
Mm-hmm.
very well used, and now I have the feeling like a little bit of the top part of the painting is not used so well. Some books that are behind him should be um, point or having their openings of their mouths pointing towards him. The one at his what's it called? On his his right arm, that is closer to us, is basically pointing sideways. This book, but it should be, because it's so tiny, I guess it's behind him coming towards us. Yeah, that's the one, right? Or it's a really tiny book. I don't know. It could also be. So these are just my
Oh, that's a
thoughts.
good point. Yeah, it's either really
Yeah,
little or it needs to be
yeah,
behind him and it probably needs to be like opened up the other way.
yeah. That's what I think. And the last little thing, and then I'm gonna shut up, is the lighting on the character. I like the shadow over his face and everything. I'm just not sure whether we need light all over the character, like with the same intensity and all. Maybe it would be cooler and more dynamic to have more of a bit of light on his head and upper body, and the rest more maybe lit from the magic or being more obscured or whatever. I just feel like the code is so prominent, this brightness, it takes the eyesight, takes my eyes away
Mm-hmm.
from the face to the code, away from the face to the code. I'm always looking at that really huge code, bright
Mm-hmm.
code part that is there in the middle lower part of the painting. So I tune down on that a little bit. Yep. So I promised I'll shut up, so I shut up. You
No, a
can
lot of
take
the
over.
same thoughts that I have. With the lighting, one of the first things I would want to do is also tone down just the brightness of the coat so that you have a lot more contrast there around the face, and the face is allowed to get brighter in the light. But the coat maybe not be that receptive of the light because it's a matter material. And I'm with you as well, letting that lower body go into more shadow, so the upper body has more of the light hitting it. And I could see that. I could see cropping down maybe 10% towards the character and getting rid of a little of the excess towards the top. I think that's probably a good call. If it was seen full screen, it's fine. But for a card, on the small card illustrations, every bit that you can save space wise helps to make it read a little better. So for that sake, I would probably do it. Okay. Some of the other things. Let's see. I've got this was a normal layer that I did over it earlier, where I toned down the coat and overall just tried to get him to be slightly darker in tone than the window behind him, because the light tones on him were actually getting up near the same value as the window, and so I just tried to do that. And also shaded this chair in, brought some extra color into it, allowed the lower body and that book to go into more silhouette and shadow. Wrong layer. and introducing some other uh, light atmosphere and color back here. The background is getting quite gray in most of it. So I was thinking about, can we shift that over to a little more color? There, also, I'll just pull in, you can kind of see it. A little more skin tone, not letting it get quite so white. Some of that skin tone, letting some of the shadow there fall underneath. Also darkened in the windows a little bit in the middle, allowing them to stay lighter around the edges. Assuming that it's perhaps cold outside and a frost would form around the edges. And that way we can get some more color out of the windows. Next is just a hard light, adding some glow around the window because they too were getting very grayed out. So hard light allows us to throw in a little color into them and add just a bit more light hitting on those books. They're kind of a minor thing. Levels, darkening the top area up in these areas. This way we have more of a gradient of darker to lighter tone overall in the background to keep it from being quite so the same. It's kind of the same value, same color all the way. Again, this is another one of those where we're just trying to push it that last 10%. And so just getting a little more punch out of that. I would make this front book bigger. Just doing that, getting it a little bigger, making use of that space, and possibly this one on the other side slightly bigger as well. That's what I was thinking. How does that strike you? Would you want to handle that a little differently, play with it?
No, I like, especially also, I didn't think about the books in the foreground. This is interesting how differently the depth is already to the viewer with just this change of the books and bringing them a little bit closer. That's cool. I like that. I try maybe get even a little bit more contrast on the face because it's such an important focal point, I think, besides the book. And the book are still super prominent. Could play with that, but might also be already at a good place as it is right now. I'd play around with it probably to see. Just to make the shadow a little bit more prominent on a very bright lit face, the shadow of the hand, to get this noir effect of the hand shadow on the face, which is really cool. It's a cool decision to have this kind of light. I like that. The thing is, with the position of the hand and the shadow on the face right now, the angle of the light is like a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
not
different than
completely
on the
consistent.
clove.
Yeah.
It's not that's what I want to say. Yeah. They must think about, especially on the clove, a little bit more where the shadow's gonna be the others. We have it a little bit, it's coming from our direction, but more top right of us. It's like we're standing left of the light source that is, I don't know, maybe two meters above our heads, something like that. And it's pretty close because it gives such a very strong light. So, yeah.
I would go over this cloak and glaze it with basically some grays, some really muted browns. We're just trying to throw in a little color variation, and it helped read it as just little bits of wear. Just tone it down slightly. I am with you. I would definitely say that the front arm, not so much, but that back arm does look wobbly. It looks like if you were to draw out where the arm has to rest inside of there and where it would actually connect to the chest, it doesn't seem right. It seems like that extends into an unusual way. So I double checked basically that upper arm there and see if you can't modify that and get that a little more accurate. The rest of it looks pretty good. I'm registering it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a book item.
I do like the overall posing, reads really well. Having the satchel, bumped up in the air off of his waist and having it flopping open. Those were both excellent calls, giving a really nice sense of motion. The pages opening up, like you mentioned, having some of the loose papers around. Overall, I think it really hits the right note as far as what the scene should be conveying. Okay, we will move on to the next then.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie. All right. Another one that had a pretty big change from the sketch. So I kept trying to go to the last concept to work on it. At one time, I just realized how much I would need to change in order for it to work. So I changed 90% of the composition. Feedback on the values helped a lot. I think the values are much better on this one than the last one. I recreated the basic composition in Blender, which saved a lot of time. There we go. Used some 3D to help work out the scene. The portrait is what I'm most unhappy with. So the character's face, I actually think the character's expression reads pretty well. Maybe just the realism. Yeah, it's not realism. It's still very stylized, but the overall expression looks pretty good. With more time, I would have liked to search a proper reference. The general scene, the way that the scene is sort of reading, is good. The frightened, sort of startled expression, I think, works well. Having the light beam bumped and it's about to fall over, I think that's nice. Seeing the books lifting off of a stack to come towards him, that's also a pretty good call. For me, this one's more about maybe pulling into that character and getting a little closer to him, because that would get quite small on a card. And then maybe playing with a bit more color into it. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, this is my same thought. This is the first thing also I thought. I like the way the books are, lifting up and getting ready for the attack. This was the first thing. And the second thing is the use of space. Everything is super clean and looking good. And I also think it's a good composition. Still, I feel there is a little bit of empty space here and there, because maybe what you just said, zooming in on the character would give us a little bit more better usage of space. I jotted down with having also some books that are lifting the same way in the mid and background, like on the right side, could help, but I think maybe we can already get this effect with zooming in on the character as well. For the face, I think because you used white on the skin and on the hair for the light, which is pretty strong, the character to me, at first glance, I thought it's an old person, because of the white hair probably, and I thought he has white beard or white eyebrows and things like that. So maybe with getting back a little bit more, with a bit more color and going a little bit away from that white on the skin and just have it at really, really wet points of the skin, could help getting the younger face impression back. I also like the impression about the realism. Yeah, of course, if you have a lot of exaggeration, you would never have eyes that are
Yeah.
shaped like that, or a mouth that goes and at angle down. But you must decide, do I want it realistic or do I want it stylized? And then go with it. And I think for a stylistic approach, this is a very good, solid face. It just needs a little bit on the value and colors reworked, as Clint is doing right now at the moment. So if you were going for realistic, do the face. Take a photo, see what it looks like. We don't have that super exaggerated triangular eye shape, even if you open our eyes super wide, stuff like that. Um,
But it
but I
does
think it's
help it to
cool.
read
It fits
in
the
a really
style.
small form. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be then a little bit thrown off if like the face was hyper realistic and the rest isn't. I
Yeah.
think it is a good call for the rest of the stylization of the painting. I think it harmonizes well.
Yeah, and with these challenges, we do want to allow some variance for people's styles. Everybody doesn't have the current MTG style that they work in. And so if you do work slightly differently, you have a bit of different style, I do want to make allowance for that. So if this is something that's more closer to what you would normally do, then just do that, and that's fine. There's a lot of games that would use something like this, or even a lot of book covers would use style similar to this. Yeah, I'm just trying to bring a little color in there, maybe just a little, yeah, I think that would actually be shadowed, that lower lip. Bring some color into it. Step away from being really, really light to being more saturated. You can get away with stuff not being as bright in value if you let it get more saturated with color. Trade-off. Most people don't look too flattering with the underlight, but I think this one's actually looking pretty good.
Yep.
And then, like, if this is a cool light coming up, which that is something that I'm a little confused about because the brightest part of the light seems to be cooler, but yet you've got a warm glow coming off the pages. So I would look to have that consistent one way or the other. What color is coming off of those pages? Because the glow from the page and the color of the light coming up should probably be the same. And of course, all those same tones need to be carried on. In this case, everything kind of facing downwards towards those pages need to be that same sort of tone, and then everything that's not can be taken on that warmer shadow tone. Okay, stepping through some of the other stuff. I made some changes earlier, and this is what we're leading into here. I think an action scene, startled, something's coming to attack you, it works well if you tilt it. So this one's very plumb, everything's very straight up and down. So I crop in on it and I tilt the scene. I then cut the books out, and we're going to pull the books back into the scene so that we're making better use of the space. We'll start with the books in the bottom left. We just cut them out, move them up. And the whole thing is trying to get that character larger, getting closer to that character. So we just got all the books and we basically moved them closer. Next, we got that book moved in closer. I painted him out earlier. And then we get the other books, move them in. And I was thinking, what if we had a cast shadow? If the light came up in front of him, having his cast shadow on the wall behind him.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And then you could have like the blue light if it's a cool light there. And then you can also play in some of the warm light of the candle hitting a couple areas on the side of the character.
Ooh, I like that.
So
That's the Clint magic.
yeah. This is one thing. All the same sort of elements. We're losing a little bit of that lovely desk. I do like the desk. But ultimately, like, the doorway isn't really telling us anything. The bottom of the desk isn't really telling us anything. So this just makes it feel like he's a little more surrounded. Everything's just kind of closer to him. And playing up that underlighting on him a bit. And you still get that wonderful sensation of the books coming up in the stack, which I could actually move those over a little bit. So you kind of got that going on. That was my thoughts. Anything that you would change from here, or any more direction changes?
No, I think it's good the way it is. I'm just thinking about the contrast right now because there's so much light now, and like parts like the hand and so on getting a bit blurry. But I think it's good because there's a lot of light from all directions, so it's kind of realistic. No, I think it's good like that. I like it. I like the color you put in there. Clint color magic.
Yeah, I use special brushes.
Yeah, it's just the brushes, people. Forget fundamentals.
As soon as they understand my secret, yeah.
You can buy these magic brushes from Clint's Gumroad store for $250, and then you can work for magic.
That's what it is.
That's the secret, guys. Now you heard it.
The fundamentals thing is just this really long con that us, other artists get together and we try to perpetrate it upon you and see how long we can get you to follow this ridiculous idea of following and learning these things.
Yeah, but Clint and I, we had a talk today. We had our fun. Now we're gonna tell you.
Well, the gig is up, Anna. That's it. That's going to be the end of the streams now. They're just going to go buy the special brushes.
Okay.
Cat cam.
Let's show the effect of your amazing brushes on the last piece, and then.
Okay, last one is Toby. Unfortunately, Kitty is way off in the other room, so no Kitty right now. If she happens to come to the door, I'll get her on camera, but I think she's sleeping right now.
Don't make me jealous. My dog is not with me for a whole week.
Oh, I totally forgot. We had other things. Oh yeah. If I meant to say, leave suggestions. I was thinking, I can have channel merch now, but I don't really have anything out. So if you guys have suggestions for channel merch, I guess you can do t-shirts and bags and posters and patches that you can put on things. So if you have an idea, put it out there, because I was kind of drawing a blank. Yeah, maybe something that says fundamentals, because we keep saying that word all the time.
Yeah, cool.
If you have ideas, put them out there. And
Discord.
Yes.
No, hamster is not. This is just me, May. You can't make Clint painting hamsters for you.
You want a hamster hoodie? Well, maybe we'll have a hamster hoodie Discord thing, and whoever wins, gets their image put on the hoodie. If you guys like that, let me know. Yeah, hamster hoodies. It's a hashtag for sure.
need to ask whether you can do art-related supplies like pencil cases and sketchbooks.
There was something. Let's see. Do I still have that open? Nope.
Like this
That
Jazza
was.
artworks or
Where was it? Oh, yeah, over here. Teespring. Everything is done through Teespring, so it's whatever I can get in Teespring is what I can do. You can get phone cases. I guess you can get a backpack with a image on it. A cinch sack. You can get stickers, beanies, tote bag, custom patch. There was something else. Yeah, just like an accessory bag, which I would normally carry like pencils and erasers and that sort of thing in. So we could do something like that. My question is, it would be shipped from the U.S.? I don't know. I assumed so because it's shipped out from Teespring, and I think they're U.S., but maybe not. I mean, we do have the Swatches logo. It'd be easy enough to put that on something. Or if there was a phrase, something like that, or somebody's favorite drawing. Yeah. Or the icons, like the little emotes and stuff. Yeah.
know what I think what would go well? You're doing sometimes these little crazy scribbles, like on the overpaint sessions on Wednesdays. And if you kept these as a JPEG, like with the little birdie you did, for example, and have that and put that somewhere on, I think it's funny. So I'm not, it might just be me, but I'm not like totally a sucker for like logos and stuff like that. So I'd never buy a cup with, I don't know, the Android symbol on it, but with something funny or so that like I have a connection to because I was in that stream when it happened, or it was a funny situation we had as a group together or so. I think that would be a nice thing to do.
Yeah, I was hoping they had something like a journal or sketchbook or something like
something
that
like
we could put one on, but I don't see one in the list. But hey, I could do a shower curtain.
that. See?
Now, I kind of like stickers. I may do a sticker.
Yeah, stickers are cool, or enamel pins, yeah.
Is enamel? Oh, it is. I totally overlooked those. Yeah, enamel pins as well.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or these keychains, also cool thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Shane is saying that you can do sketchbooks and stuff, Redbubble. Yes. I can definitely do them through other companies. I was trying to find ones that I can do through YouTube's merch. And YouTube has a partnership with Teespring, so I was trying to find what I can do within Teespring. And that way that you can connect, link to it directly from the YouTube channel. You can actually shop there from YouTube. Okay. Well, maybe we'll have a little design contest or something. I would consider getting me a beanie with a logo on it because I like wearing beanies during the winter.
Nice, yep.
Okay, so this one is from Toby, and he's been sitting here the whole time like, man, when are they gonna actually talk about it? My image has been on there for 10 minutes.
I'm up now.
Hi, y'all. I'm sorry I couldn't make the deadline to finish it on time. But I'm still pretty rough, but I thought it would be good to send it in anyway and get some feedback and direction. I struggled quite a lot and had a tough time with color and figuring out the chain shapes. Thanks for your time, Toby.
What impression was that? I can't decide between like something westernish or something like from The Princess and the Frog, like these people there living at the Bayou, or it was it called? I don't know.
Bayou?
Like Bayou, yeah. Was it a Bayou dialect?
Oh, that would be more of your all-American redneck.
Yeah.
You definitely have some of those around here.
Cool.
Okay. This one is another one significant change. The overall pose is pretty similar, but you've definitely changed the chains. You flipped it around, did more developing, put on the armor, put in more garb. We did away with pretty much all of the background. So I assume that you will go on and develop a lot of that. The overall head shape, body shape, the torso's reading pretty well. I did a little overdrawing, adjusting, basically trying to beef up a lot of him. With the arms, they felt maybe a little small for the size of the torso and the chest and the neck. So I was looking at punching up the size of the bicep, the size of the forearm on each side. Probably giving him another finger, the 3 finger. I'd probably go for 4 at least, a thumb and 3 fingers. A little, otherwise it's a little too cartoonish. Cartoons usually use 3. So doing that. Watch how these meet. That arm is going to go and overlap the lat there, and he's probably going to have some pretty massive lats there under his arm, protecting his rib cage and wrapping it around from the back. And then that is going to curl up for the underneath the chest, and so he is going to overlap this, and then this is going to overlap that. Then you're going to have some of the separation between the different muscles there in the arm. So look for those separations as well, and see if you can't block in where some of the muscle groups are there on the forearm. That's not where they are. I'm just pointing where they need to be put in all that area. The legs, I think, is maybe one of the significant things about adjusting on the pose. That we have him kind of in a squatting position, that both of his legs are going the same way. I'm thinking it's going to be actually closer to your reference pose over there, where his legs are spreading to give him a better stance, right? Otherwise, you're not very stable if you've got both of your legs facing the same direction and you're squatting down more. So let's do that. And also another one where his thigh is getting really thin compared to the size of his body. So we want to beef that up and make his upper leg a bit longer. Okay, well, that was my thought as far. Mainly here, I think we were at the drawing stage, making sure that that's refined. Oh, with the chains, you can go with this sort of diamond hexagon, elongated hexagon, I guess is what it is. But we do want some space before you get to the next one, so that you have that in and out pattern to it. And it's going to read his chain a lot better. Right now, this pattern almost registers as more of a lace, because it stays more consistent and it doesn't have the in and out. Lace has a tendency to just have a long series of kind of ups and downs. And what we're looking for is like that space, that sort of thing. Okay. From here, what was your thoughts? What were you happy with? What would you think would be a good place to go from here?
Yeah, so I like the face and neck area. They're really cool, and also the anatomy. And I like how to see the process on how you played around with it, tried different poses, different angles. You really gave it some thought, and it's clean. You have especially on the Minotaur, try to get the edges clean and nice. For the chains, I can just give the hint to look at ethereal chains in professional art or anything. It doesn't have to be chains. It can be like also weapons or
Yes.
body parts and so on. And there you see, for example, go and check on the Freljord skin from Silas from League of Legends. He has this kind of in between of ethereal chain and normal chain with magic around it. You see that things might be look through, things might be super glowy, things might have a very soft and gentle smoke around it, but they don't have this itty bitty, like super fuzzy edges. This is just noisy, and yeah, you can still feel. For example, they have this ethereal sword sometimes with Katarina or so. I don't know. You feel like this. It's as it was cold metal. It looks like cold metal that is looked through, like glass, And this is an optic. Yeah, this is something I'd visually go for. So work on the edges and don't go for simply white, white, white. Play around with it. Not this Katarina one. There is Deathsworn Katarina, I think. You don't have it in that folder, I guess.
Yeah, I was just trying to see whichever the ones I had that had kind of glowy, transparent bits.
Yeah. This is something that is super hard to get, also for me, that how clean everything is. You think it is super fuzzy, but actually it's super clean sharp edges with a little bit of glowy effect on it, So if you could try that with the chains and also give them more color and color gradient, a slight one, it might be giving you a better impact. Also, that the chains are all coming from the left is kind of making the painting a little bit more imbalanced. Maybe you could also have some coming with like 1 or 2 chains from the right. I just feel like the 2 chains that are on top of the legs are kind of interfering with the silhouette of the character and making it less easy to read. You know what I mean? So maybe we can tidy up that a little bit by changing the angles or letting the chains being behind the character or whatever in that direction.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing with the chains. Having maybe one wrapping around the handle of the weapon and going off would just help to kind of balance out the chains so that you have all those white ones on that side, and then you need at least one on this other side.
Yeah, something like that. Other than that, maybe we could have a little bit more hard light on the character if you want to. It is quite ambient right now. We could have a super strong top light, for example, with hard shadows on the face and horns. Just why do I always go in this challenge for the hard light is because it is more dynamic than ambient light. And we want a very dynamic piece. That is why I always keep saying, do a hard light or have some hard edges on the light, on the character. It just adds to the dynamic of the character. And yeah, maybe you can push also some colors again, Clint. Do your magic, put out your magic brushes so we can sell them later for more money. And yeah, give this whole thing a bit more glow.
Man, if I just actually put something up there, Clint's magic brushes, I wonder how many people would actually buy it. Be like, wait a second, that's just the regular round Photoshop brush.
Nope. This is gonna change your life. Yeah. You can also use just voice on the brushes. You tell them what you want and they paint it for you.
Totally, that's definitely how it works. Computers they do all the work for you.
Yeah. We are working on a version where you can do it like mentally, but by now you'd still have to use the voice. Sorry, guys, but the upgrade will come to 2021.
Anna's been talking with Elon Musk about trying to make use of his Neuralink technology in order to connect it in with Photoshop, but it's actually Adobe that's kind of being a pain. They still want everybody to do it by hand and not just use neural interface.
working against us.
Ah, always
Was-
something.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, but I'm at it. I promise you'll get it next year.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Infomercial style. Yes, we should do that.
But wait, there's more! Buy within the next 20 minutes and you will also receive...
This super hard round brush. It looks like the hard round brush that you already have in your Photoshop, but it doesn't have the magic. Psst. There we go with the color.
More color. Oh, no. You have that on... There. Man, I need to sneeze.
Oh, did you just sneeze? Gesundheit.
I did. I really need to. My house is very dusty right now because I've been doing work in here, cutting stuff and cleaning stuff. Okay. What color would you make the top light?
Probably opposing to the blue, so a warm yellowish, yellow-orangish light. Maybe close to white even. I mean, it can be a very bright yellow even. But I'm so bad at color. I don't know why you ask me. You are good.
Oh, because you said, oh, we could have a dramatic top light. So I thought, oh,
Yeah.
she's got a game plan. She knows what she would do with it.
And I did my job, and now you do whatever I suggested.
This is why you would make a good art director. You know what needs to
I
be
can't
done, you
paint,
just don't
but I
want to
can
actually
tell you
do
what
it.
You have to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, better than one art director I had. When he looked at your painting and it was like a full body, whatever, and he was like, yeah, do something with the anatomy. And you're like, uh-huh, cool. Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, I'll do something with it. Don't know what, but I'll do something. This was really all you got. Like, do something with the, or do something about the anatomy. And I'm like, tell me what part. Is it everything? Is it the legs?
Yeah.
Is it the arms?
That's where you get the difference in the quality of art directors.
Nice. I like that. Rim light. That's cool. Do we need that cape skirt part of him? I feel like it's taking away by now, at least from his silhouette, and it's kind of. I feel like everything is pulling to the left. I feel like we need some more balance, but it might just be me. Just feel like. Just because
I don't
the
know that
cheek
you. I kind of don't mind it being there, but I don't want it to be that much of it.
Or maybe it could be even blowing the opposite. I mean, just because the chains are pulling from that side, it doesn't have to mean that it's also flowing to that side, right?
Yeah. I'll paint out some of it here.
May. I'm gonna show it to people, but did not say that.
Well, maybe it could be a battle kilt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what people say. It just meant that it's obscuring quite a lot from the legs, and there is like this skirt, the legs, and the chains, and it's all a big. I don't see the silhouette anymore well, and I can't read it well. That's why I thought maybe having it in a different position or taking out one of the chains or enhancing the silhouette of the legs somehow. That's what I thought. Yeah, Matthew, not bad, but you can't beat May the Pun Queen. I'm sorry, not yet.
Who's what?
He's May said that we want now nude cows, naked cows, because I said, can we take out the skirt? And Matthew wrote like more skin from moo, more skin. And I just said,
So clever.
nice try. But May is our pun queen still. He's building up to it.
Still trying to get some gleam off of some of this metal. Yeah, and you get some bounce light, get a little blue tint on some of it. I do like some of the developing forms there around the neck and jaw. Yeah, I'm liking some of that blue. Yeah, maybe after you do a lot of hamsters, you can just move on to minotaurs.
Yep. Yep, yep. Oh, the ears are looking really fleshy now. It did come, that's the thing. Oh yes, that's a good idea, Kong. Could like someone of the people who drew the Morgoth hamster post it for the paint over stream? Then we can make Clint paint actually a Morgoth hamster.
You realize the problem in that plan, right?
What?
You realize the problem in that plan?
What is the problem?
That I roll a die to see what gets chosen. And I don't have to
But
show you what number it was.
I just tell you that we have like, I don't know, 10 of them, so you're probably gonna end up with one at least.
But no, you guys can definitely put the hamsters in the paint over. That's fine. You submit in what you want.
Mm.
So yeah, that's how I would consider taking it. Thinking it might be nice to have a dark edge there, and a lot of this is kind of based on the cool light. Let that be more of a light source there, and have kind of a core shadow running up on some of that, and nice bright light up here. You can even have just a little glow of that light kicking down the atmosphere back there a little bit, so he stands out a little better. Oh, I'm all out of cams, you know? I
Yeah.
can't spare one for the dice.
Well, people don't trust you now anymore, kid. Once you said you're gonna manipulate the hamster paintings.
Man, if I was going to manipulate, I probably would have done it by now. Some of those pieces, wasn't sure what to do with. But yeah, we'll get a punch of color. Obviously, that's just image direction. That no way is that clean or anything. But hopefully that kind of gives some idea of where it could be taken, and yeah. Is there going to be a stream next week? Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, I don't know if there will be. Anna and I were talking about some things we could do because the whole pushed off a week thing. So I will just let you know if there will be or not. And it won't be an art challenge paint over art challenge stream or paint over stream. So that'll be in 2 weeks. I'll just let you know. See what we're doing. Yep. All right, well, that wraps it up for this one then. And of course, if you guys want access to the art challenge, the new art challenge files, they will become available if you want to have a go on your own. But if you want to get feedback on stream, then you will need to pick up one of the tickets tomorrow, which will go on sale on the Gumroad store. And it will be 12 tickets for group 1. Then the week following will be group 2, I guess. Yeah, it would need to be a week offset. So, yeah. Okay, make sure that you put in your comments about what you would be looking for, what you'd be interested in as far as merchandise, given the things that we can actually merchandise through YouTube. So, I'd be interested to see what you'd be interested in. Any final thoughts or comments from you, Anna?
No, somebody asked what the challenge is. You can see it on screen right now, so Clint has pulled it up. Also the outline, but you can also find the outline. Do you still put them on Discord or Facebook for others to read?
When I remember, I do put them up on Discord.
Okay, then people join Discord. Easy as that, and then you can see it there again. Yeah, but basically Clint pulled up some references for it. D&D 3 new races that Clint thought up for us, and you have some freedom and style, and yeah, paint these in D&D commission kind of style, these characters, to make long things short.
Now, you should be able to have enough time to do 2 of the 3. That's how the challenge is set up. If you do know that your time is very limited, it'd be better just to put all your time into one of them.
Yep.
I think we'll probably see more of the Oberlon than any of the others, but maybe I'll be wrong. Okay, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you out on Discord. And at least in 2 weeks, maybe in a week, I'll let you know. Until then, Keep drawing.